be doing a better job as president? Guess who comes out on top? Within the margin of error, but comes out on top. This looks a lot like the election result, right? Trump 45%, 2 points ahead of Harris at 43%. 12% say they'd be doing about the same. But this is the key nugget here. It's not just about regretting that vote. It's literally saying who would be doing the better job right now. And Trump continues to score a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala Harris. This looks a heck of a lot like the election result. We have just seen this in poll after poll after poll. Despite the fact that Trump's favorable ratings aren't too hot to trot, when he's matched up against who he was matched up in 2024, he still, across the polls, scores a higher percentage than Kamala Harris does.
Even if they don't know exactly what she would have done, they still went for Donald Trump. Okay, what about when he's matched up against congressional Democrats, who we know have had some pretty rough numbers?
Yeah, they have had some pretty rough numbers. So Kamala Harris obviously doesn't hold elected office right now, but Democrats in Congress sure do. So who do you trust more on the U.S. main problems, the main problems in the United States? Well, what do we have here? It's the same exact picture, folks. It's the same exact picture. When you match Donald Trump against his actual competition, Donald Trump comes out ahead. Look at this, 40% to congressional Democrats, 32%.
And immigration still.
Right. Okay. So we kind of talk about it a little bit up here when we match up Donald Trump against the Democrats in Congress. But what about the parties up against each other, right? Donald Trump has not seen those favorable polls when it comes to the economy, when it comes to immigration. But look here, which party has a better plan? And this is the margin among registered voters. Look at this on immigration. The GOP crushes the Democrats. Look at that. That's a 19-point edge. My goodness gracious. You rarely ever see leads like that in politics these days. How about on the economy, where Donald Trump's numbers have been struggling a little bit, but even there, Republicans hold a 9-point lead. If Democrats think...
We got to talk about the Democrat Party today because, of course, that narrative is continually being pushed that people are regretting their vote and, oh my goodness, Donald Trump is doing such a terrible job. People who supported Trump now regret it. Van Jones did an interview or sat down with some Trump voters, some black Trump voters, and asked them if they regret anything. And I want you guys to take a look at this video because it's actually quite interesting, because I can almost guarantee you that somebody behind the scenes did not want this to go live on air. But with that being said, let's dive in.
We started off the broadcast tonight with the president's cabinet shakeup, and that's, of course, only a fraction of what's unfolded over the last 102 days of the second Trump administration. The question is, what are voters making of it all? CNN's Van Jones has been talking to Trump supporters dating back to 2016. He is, as you know, a Democrat who is a former senior advisor to President Obama. For tonight's report, he met with a small group of black voters, a man and a woman from South Carolina and another woman from North Carolina, all of whom voted for President Trump. CNN's exit polling shows Mr. Trump got 8% of the black vote in 2016, and that grew slightly into the teens over the next two elections. Here's Van's report from Greenville, South Carolina.
You do well.
And here we are in South Carolina with 3 Trump voters. You weren't always a Republican.
No. Actually, I come from a family that was like super Democratic. My first time voting, I voted Democrat. I voted for Joe Biden.
What about Trump appealed to you?
Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you can.
I mean, part of it is he's an asshole. I like authenticity.
You voted for Obama then you voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, but 2020 you voted for Donald Trump. What made the change?
I began listening to someone, her name is Candace Owens, and I read her book, and it just opened my eyes to maybe he's not this person that I have been led to believe that he was.
So you voted against Trump in 2016,
yes,
but then in 2020 you voted for him?
Absolutely.
Why?
I saw how things were going during his first term, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I was pleased with what was happening. I saw the economy getting better. I saw country relations in certain countries getting better.
What are some things that he's doing that you do like?
For me, I like the border. I just don't like the idea of someone coming here illegally and getting benefits that can serve my community. So that's the reason why I support him on that border policy.
When you think about the border, you think about people coming here who are getting more help than people who live here and who were born here.
Yeah, and I got that perspective not from news channels. I got it from social media. TikTok is like a holy grail. We even see it with the things that we learn about the United States government. Outside of the United States, people are showing Americans hey, look at what's going on. Do y'all know that your government is doing this? Have you seen this? Have you looked at it from this perspective?
You know, people, when they think about a Trump voter, they usually think about like a white dude with like a red hat on and a pickup truck, and y'all are not that at all. So Donald Trump's team went in, they took down Harriet Tubman's picture for a quick minute. They're trying to like knock out the black museums. What does that have to do with the price of eggs, and how does that impact you?
In some ways, it's a slap in the face. In other ways, I don't care. I care more about how I'm going to take care of my children.
I don't think the average American cares about that. I know I am sick and tired of seeing black people sit there and complain about something, but not taking action and steps to actually try to change things in an appropriate manner.
Under the Trump and Biden administration, they came to certain agreements with police departments to be less brutal toward the black community. Trump has now ended all that. How does that help the black community?
I have a lot of issues with police reform and just with how police officers are treated as a whole. My husband is currently going through the process to become a police officer. The amount of hatred that cops get, even the best ones, I think has become a huge problem, because it has been, especially around election times, when it definitely comes out of like, oh no, the cops are bad, the cops hate you because you're black, they're immediately deemed as evil.
This man is talking about running for a third term. Now, what do you think about that?
The third term, for me, absolutely not. I think it's at the end of these 4 years, it's time to move on.
This is a prime example of him trolling people, because people have said, they're like, oh, if he gets in the office, he's gonna be a dictator. He's gonna try to run for a third term. So he's like, okay, y'all think I'm gonna do that? I'm gonna mess with y'all and say this to tick y'all out.
I thought you loved this man because he's so authentic and he's such a truth teller.
But you need to know the difference between somebody trolling somebody, and this is a prime example of him being a troll.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would. Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this next one.
She said yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
And Van Jones joins me now. It's interesting, most of the information that they are getting, or misinformation they may be getting, is coming from online.
Really, 100%. The thing that surprised me the most was how much social media is dictating, especially the younger guy. You know, he said, look, I'm learning all this stuff about America that I didn't know. I'm like, where are you learning from? TikTok, China. Guys, you're a Republican and you're taking the Chinese narrative about your own country to heart. But that was a big part of their whole information ecosystem.
Yeah,
social media.
Does it seem to you that they follow news closely? I mean,
no, that was the other thing too. Is like, you know, one of the women said, look, I do not watch any of the media. She says, you know, I have some influencers I follow, Candace Owens being a big deal, and Newsmax. And that is their information system. And listen, these are hardworking people. They're good people. They care about the country, but they are in a completely different information environment than people who I talk to every day.
So as you heard there, for a few reasons, for many different reasons, I'm sure they did not want to air that. They had to come on air and admit that people are no longer watching the news. Nobody gives a crap about the news. And it's their own fault. It's people like Anderson Cooper's own fault that people aren't watching the news. Like he literally said after, you know, when it switched to him and Anderson Cooper and Van Jones, people are getting their misinformation. What? And don't nobody want to hear that bull. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody want to hear that bull. You know, because y'all put out misinformation all the time. Just like when the famous example of Joe Scarborough. Now, I know this is CNN, but the famous example of Joe Scarborough. And F you if you don't believe this is the best version of Joe Biden. What? Huh? And CNN's not innocent either, of course. Right? They get on air and lie all the time and bend and twist the truth all the time. And that is why people no longer watch it. If they just came out and just told the truth, good or bad about about Democrats or Republicans, people would still be watching the news. People would still be watching because that's what we used to go to the news for, was just getting the news. But that's not what it is. That's not what it is. It's Trump bad, Democrats the best thing since sliced bread. They are gold, diamonds, and everything nice, sugar and spice. You know, the whole nine. Democrats are wonderful and Republicans are absolutely trash. That's all the news is. That's all it is. And I can't even call it the news anymore. That's all these glorified YouTube channels are. Right? That is all it. But as you saw there was so much that I could have said during that video, which is why I just sat back quiet the whole time and didn't say anything, right? Because I could have paused that video so many different times to touch on something somebody said, like when she mentioned the situation about Trump trolling, of course, when Van Jones, he's talking about running for a third term. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Of course Trump is trolling. Duh. Like, come on now. It doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. But of course, since Van Jones is a Democrat, he's gotta lay it out that way. Oh my goodness, Trump's gonna run for a third term. Oh no. You know, like, come on now. But this is why people don't watch the news. That's exactly why. Like I said, I'm honestly shocked that they even aired this, but I guess at a certain point you gotta do a little bit of journalism, I guess, right? But anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts and your opinions on this. Thanks for tuning in. As always, Trump voters, we aren't regretting our vote. What they say on the news, it's fake news. Peace and love. I'm out.